the scoring. Daniel Bakash, a massive smile on his face.
Scoring his first Western Hockey League goal, number 24, Daniel Bakash. Assisted by number 19, Will Sharp. Time of the goal.
A draw against Vanhanen. Vanhanen off to a tremendous start here for the Tips. Already 7 goals on the campaign. Got to be careful of sweater number 17 when he's out there. Dynamic player. He's a draft pick of the Seattle Kraken. Puck one here for the Rockets. Henderson. Center. Wetch. Lost it. Now here's Varga. He'll drag it back inside the tip zone. Gathered by Vanhanen. A pass out right wing. And now here they come. Numbers the other way. This is the Tips' #1 line out here. Also on this line here for Everett. You got to be wary of him anytime he's out on the ice. That's Shea Bush.
Leslie, last year 72 points in 66 outings for the Vancouver Giants. All-time leading scorer for a defenseman in Vancouver history. Decommitted from Bowling Green. And the NCAA seemed to go play for a Memorial Cup with Kelowna. And Leslie will quarterback the power play from behind his end line. Minute 10 remaining in the penalty to Schaefer. Leslie crosses center over to his right for the San Jose Sharks prospect Wetch. Played around behind the Silvertip net. Liskey battling along the end boards for it. Pops free to Wetch on the far wing, out to the blue line. Settled by Sharp over to his left. Wetch at the top of the circles. Errant pass to the blue line. No one home, and Sharp will be forced to retreat. In what was an historic year for the 15-year-old DuPont. Face-off in the neutral zone won by the Rockets. Henderson looking to his left off the skates of Papanicus and settled by Sharp. Henderson up the right side, chased by Miettinen, crossing the width of the ice for Papanicus up with speed. Papanicus backhands it towards the net, settled down by season for him as well. A goal and an assist in his first game played just the other day. Face-off won by the Rockets. Henderson, a shot from the blue line, seen all the way by for the Silvertips. Face-off won by Everett and pushed back towards Liskey, who had 2 assists last night as well. Julius Miettinen up with speed. Miettinen has it poked away by Calder Varga. Loose at center. Miettinen reaching back and is able to re-corral. Entering in with Vanhanen. Shoots it off a leg over towards the far side boards. And Miettinen sends it towards the neutral zone. Tips always play 4-on-4 very cautious by Ryland Pierce. Silvertips, by the way, 25-1 against the Rockets since 2017. Up the right side, here's Caffey. Driven into the far corner boards, pushes the puck in deep. Vanhanen providing support. He's wrapped up from behind by Gilbo. Vanhanen trying to stay on his skates. Taken by the Rockets and out to center as Goysick motions it into the offensive end. Terrence Smith with 2 on. Over towards the far wing. Caffey trying to one-touch for Seidel. Poked back towards the blue line, and Caffey streaking ahead. He's stripped from behind. A good reach by Goysick. Moves it to the far corner, taking the step around behind the net. Poltein out to the blue line for Henderson. Henderson, a wrist shot, blocked down by the legs of Seidel. Whacked over to the near side's boards. Poltein driven into the wall by Vanhanen. And Vanhanen crumples Poltein down. Poltein hurt. Vanhanen will be wrapped up. A penalty being assessed against Vanhanen. This will like Vanhanen. Silvertips 2 for 2 on the kill as Henderson works his way in. Gliding back to the far point, a low shot knocked down by DuPont with the leg, sent towards the blue paint off the skates of Smith into the near side corner and skied out to center. Through the legs of Henderson, Vaughn is barreling towards him. Cleared back out to center. Julius Miettinen retreats. He's tripped up. 66.5% successful. That was far and away bottom in the league. And they have struggled the last couple of years in that department. Here's Chasko up the left wing. Kissed it off the glass. Miettinen racing forward. Jackson Vaughn far wing. Vanhanen at the far point, looking towards the corner, broken up by a stick. And Carrick is able to get it out to center. Held by Breck Liskey, who feigns one way, skates in towards his right. Carrying into the far corner, round behind the end line, sets up Chasko. Once more behind the net, Chasko out to the far point. Landon DuPont. Back to the blue line, Liskey. Now DuPont on the outside, snaps across the slot, Vanhanen inching forward. High slot, Liskey squares to his right, DuPont. DuPont finds a lane and a shot that's blocked in front. Caught the legs of Gilboa, and it's sent out to center. Racing ahead is Wet with 22 seconds left. Up the wing, off a stick, deflected into the zone. Miller comes aggressively out of his crease to set it aside for Smith. DuPont for Caffey. Final 10 seconds of the period. One last rush possible. Caffey fanned on the cross zone pass. Holding at center. And Caffey is dumped down to the ice by a heavy hit, and that will bring us to for Landon DuPont. Up the right wing, Heslop redirects in deep. Silvertips will go for a change. Matias Vanhanen in deep, working against Gilboa. A board-rattling hit. Up the left side, Caden Longley, who is off to a terrific start to the year for Kelowna. Longley 3 multi-point outings under his belt already. Here's Miettinen up for Caffey off his skates. Miettinen trying to bully his way through Gilboa. He's closed out from the puck. Rolling towards the far corner, Caffey for Miettinen in front for Vanhanen. Vanhanen couldn't get a shot off. Curling over to his left, back to the blue line. Long shot that's blocked in front. Caffey swung and missed. Here's a second attempt off a leg. Miettinen was open back door. Caffey tried to work it to him. Tomas Poltine redirects it into the Silvertip zone. Minute 45 gone by in the second. Here's Ryland Pierce. As is Nolan Chasko. Chasko taking the place of where Shea Bush would be. Matias Vanhanen completing the forward lines. As Terrence Smith gliding over. Silvertips also without Jackson Vaughn, who would be on this unit. He's replaced by Clark Schaefer. Here's Miettinen backhanding it around the wall. Far side. Battling forward is Chasko. Picked up by Kelowna, unable to clear. Schaefer finds it to Miettinen near circle. Holding with no lane to the net. Now he tries it. Blocked in front by Gilboa. 5 seconds left in the power play. Vanhanen far corner. Zips it to Liskey at the point. Crossing Miettinen. One-timer blocked in front by a diving Corbeil. Cleared out of the zone. Racing in by Murphy Trial Law. Tomas Poltine on the dot for the Rockets. Countered by Miettinen. Draw one by the Tips. Unable to clear. Leslie holds the zone. Skips it to the far circle. Held down back to the blue line for Masden Leslie as Sharp to his left. And a pass attempt to stick down by Vanhanen. Springs Miettinen forward in a foot race for the puck against Sharp. Rolling towards the crease, and Bonini unable to steer it away from an oncoming Miettinen. Miettinen will kill some time against the boards. Good forecheck there by Miettinen. Picks the pocket of Poltine behind the end line. Boy, Miettinen a bull in a china shop on this shift. Puck springs free to the near side corner. Vanhanen providing support. And the first 45 seconds of the power play killed off almost single-handedly by Miettinen. Up comes Poltine to his left for Sharp, through his legs. Masden Leslie at the point. Cutting over to his right with speed along wrister. Fought off by Miller, and a rebound is pushed just wide. To the blue line, Leslie, who gloved it down and kept it in. Leslie far point. Long wrister. Deflected in front by DuPont. Sharp picks up and scores. Will Sharp. Well, the initial chance is blocked down in front by Landon DuPont. Picked up by Sharp at the top of the near circles. And he goes high glove on Miller. And you take another look. Carson Wetch is there setting the screen. Don't believe Miller really has cleared. Miettinen and Liskey. Face off one clean by Kelowna. And Masden Leslie will race forward. Leslie through the heart of the neutral zone. A shot short-handed is blocked down by the legs of Breck Liskey. And Hanen lost his footing in his own zone and draws some oohs and ahs from the Kelowna faithful. Liskey with a drop pass finding Matias Vanhanen. To his right, Jackson Vaughn. Lifted into the near corner. Vanhanen one-handed off the glass. Chasko under some pressure behind the end line. Rowan Guest leaning into the puck. 8:40 gone by in the period, minute and a half remaining in the power play. Pile up behind the end line. Jackson Vaughn protecting with his lower half. Trying to win it over towards Vanhanen. The whistle will find out their top unit. Wetch, Poltine, and Sharp up front. Face off one clean by the Silvertips and sent down the length of the ice by Liskey. Pakash and Leslie complete the 5-man unit for Kelowna. Entering up the right side with speed, Wetch. Shot off the end wall and out of reach of Poltine, and look out. Here comes Miettinen racing for the puck against Leslie. Miettinen wins it near wall. Leslie gets enough of it to force it behind the end line. That's the speed of Masden Leslie that's able to recuperate on that play. As fleet-footed a defenseman as you'll find. Bouncing out towards center. Vanhanen and Leslie reaching out. Leslie one-hands it to left side. Papanicus one-on-one against DuPont. Towards the slot, a save, and a rebound is swept to the near side, out of reach of Pakash. At center, Papanicus entering back in, offside. Keeping the Silvertips at bay. Limited number of grade A's for the Silvertips through the first 40 here. Miettinen taps it behind the net. Caffey ranging over. One-handed back towards Liskey. Up into the air, off the glass. Caffey. Pressed against the boards. Vanhanen works it towards the point. Liskey unable to hold the line. Forced towards the neutral zone. Pierce trying to geometrically get it to Vanhanen. He does, entering in with Caffey. Vanhanen waits towards the net. Saved by Bonini. Well, Vanhanen was waiting for Caffey to spring out wider and wait for the pass. Never came, as Caffey was too close to Vanhanen to get the cross on by the Tips. Vaughn whacks it around the wall to Vanhanen left side. Giving to Chasko, dropping to Liskey far point. Vanhanen and Liskey play pitch and catch. Vaughn calling at the far corner, receiving, popping out to space, a wrister that zips high. Not much of an angle there for Jackson Vaughn, and it funnels out to center. 35 seconds left. Here's Liskey. Over to his left. Speeding in comes Miettinen, blows by a defender. He's in. Miettinen wraparound towards the crease. Vanhanen has it turned away by Bonini. Vanhanen gets it back in the near corner. 20 seconds left in the man advantage. Vaughn slings it towards the far point. Liskey has tons of space. Holds on to it. 15 seconds left. Vaughn taps it towards Liskey. On the left side, Vanhanen towards the slot. Shot blocked. Rebound. Score! Julius Miettinen rifles it home, and the Silvertips have tied it deep into the playoffs. Puck is dropped, and away we go for the final frame as Vanhanen guides it back towards Landon DuPont. Clark Schaefer and Nate Corbet are still in the box after serving offsetting on sportsmanlike penalties. Here's a pass down low for Reese Jameson off his stick. Jameson skating on a line with Miettinen and Vanhanen, replacing Nolan Caffey to start the period. Steve Hamilton pressing some buttons and seeing what works as Vanhanen looking back towards the blue line. Terrence Smith trying to chip it deep. Battling along the near side while Papanicus has it stolen. Miettinen along the goal line for Jameson. Score! Reese Jameson of games. Jameson just playing in his 4th outing. A rising shot off the shoulder. Won by Kelowna, pushed towards the end boards, racing over DuPont. Leads Vanhanen out of his own end. Vanhanen crosses center, shoots it off a defensive body. Loose over in the far wall. Miettinen ties up Pankratz, works it back to DuPont again. Sends it off a pipe. Pakash and Leslie complete the power play unit. Tied up on the dot, pushed back for a quick shot by Pakash. Eating that puck was Breck Liskey. He's shaken up a little bit, wore that one in the left leg. Pakash back to the blue line. Leslie over to his left, taking the step up. His sharp doorstep out in front, poked away by Liskey, and out to center. Liskey still very clearly laboring as he skates out onto the ice. He remains in the play. Politine chased down from behind by Vanhanen, worked around behind the net. Miller unable to stop it. Trickles to the near side corner where Liskey will battle. Getting support from Pierce. Pierce doing good work, tying things up. Digging for it, Miettinen. He'll shade away from the play. Rolling along the boards, Leslie softly in front. Wedge couldn't settle. Leaves it for Politine into the far side corner. Tries to drop it. Vanhanen and Liskey both swiping at it. Bouncing puck. Settled by Kelowna. Pierce stepping over. Taking it away, and Miettinen will hold over by his bench. He'll skate for Rylan Pierce back to retrieve over for Liskey. Lucas Kaplan up the left side. Kaplan hard around the glass. Still on the shelf, and finally it lands on the ice in the neutral zone. That stayed up for a long time. Terrence Smith sails it wide. Matias Vanhanen drops it for Miettinen. Trying to cross over to the near point, and Terrence Smith unable to collect. Barrett batted it out to center, and Barrett will deposit in deep and go off for a change. Good read there by Eli Barrett on that sequence. Smith hard off the glass out to center for Miettinen. It lands in his midsection. Pushing possession into the near corner, joined by Vanhanen. 6:40 gone by in the third period. Tips leading by 1. Here's Reese Jameson. In the far corner, back to the blue line. DuPont to his left. Smith stepping forward. A wrister. Glove save by Bonini. Draw one by Kelowna, but pushed forward by Reese Jameson. And out he comes, joined by Vanhanen and Terrence Smith. Slows up, finds Smith near circle. Couldn't get a shot off. Rolls it around the boards. Reese Jameson tapped for Vanhanen. Curls the outside. Hands to Pierce. Far corner Miettinen. Intended for Vanhanen, just ahead of him. Picked up and ahead comes Goysick 3-on-2. Tomas Politin into the offensive end. He's poked back by Rylan Pierce. Trailing chance for Longley. Kick save by Miller. Vanhanen tries to clear. It's held by Henderson. His shot through traffic deflected and wide into the near side. Gilbo off a skate, off another skate, and just wide. Pinballed towards Miller and just wide of the crease. Skied into the air with 6:20 remaining in regulation time. It's Tomas Politin. Politin's stick failed him. And a trickling puck is covered up by Miller. Miller is piled on. Draw one clean by Miettinen, who is now 50% on the night. He's 7 for 14. Cleared all the way down. Bonini leaves it aside for Mazden Leslie. Miettinen chases him towards the end boards. Left for Tomas Politin. And up he comes. Politin lost control in the neutral zone. Politin with points in all 6 of his appearances so far this year. Goals in 5 of them. Up the left side. They look towards the slot. It's covered up by Miller.